If Alan played before Messi, each country will have a statue of him. Each country will be mandated by God.
Oh my God.
Build a statue for this Slavic God now. They will talk about him like he's Thor.
Football has been around for a very long time and has given us a lot of memories. But sometimes when you watch these 90s players play, you begin to wonder, were they really that special, or did they just seem like that because we are viewing them through the lens of nostalgia? Well, welcome to Crossfire, brought to you by Life Scorebet. I am Anishilowo, Jimmy Anishilowo, and I'm here with Tunde and Tosi to discuss today whether or not the 90s football was overrated. So, Tunde, do you think the 90s were overrated?
By definition of underrated, yes. And I know because lots of people are not as educated as they think. When you're overrated, you think it means, oh, this is not good. No, it just means it's not as good as you rate it. A lot of people's perception of the 90s is, or 90s football in general, or even 90s anything, but since it's football we're talking now, is, nostalgia. You have a lot of childhood memories tied to these moments. Unlike today, where everything and anything is available. I probably know what Vinicius had for dinner last night. That's how I know if I want to know the exact amount of blade of grass that he covered in his last 5 games, I can easily check that information without even stressing.
He had 5 goals, but good.
The point is that football is so accessible now. Statistics are so detailed, and the way football is judged now, we look at what players cannot do rather than what they are good at. That's the major difference between the 90s and now. That is the major difference. In the 90s, or I even like not even just 90s, I always like to put it just before Messi's prime, because I believe that's when everything changed. Before then, football was entirely about, these are the guys that we think are good. This is what they can do. I will continue to tell you about it because that's what it is. Ronaldo won a Ballon d'Or in 2002, mostly for his heroics at the World Cup. But he also played club football that season and scored 7 goals for Inter Milan. I know that they will not tell you that, but he played 17 games in total in 3 seasons, scored 10 goals, and then recovered, went to the 2002 World Cup in Korea, Japan. Undoubtedly was the best player of the tournament, no doubt about that one. And then won a Ballon d'Or because of that. That kind of thing would happen today, and all of you will call him a fraud. Well, again, I'm not making a case against these guys being considered all-timers. I'm saying if you use the same parameters for players today, there will be a lot more all-timers in football. That's what I'm saying. There are a lot of people that will die on the hill that Filippo Inzaghi was one of the best strikers to play football. Filippo Inzaghi only crossed 20 league goals once in his entire career, 1996 for Atalanta. For AC Milan, he never scored more than 14 goals in a season. Never. He was there 10 years. Not one time. I'm sorry that I'm ruining your childhood, but let me tell you the truth here. Some of these guys, they were good. And I actually want us to judge football now the way we judge football then. Because if a player is good, I like what they can do. Instead of this habit of constantly trying to find what this person cannot do. Saka can dribble, he's productive, but he cannot run. So he's not good. He's trash. Mbappe is faster than him, he must be trash. Alan scores 50 goals a season, but he cannot carry leg over. So he's trash. If Alan played before Messi, each country will have a statue of him. Each country will be mandated by God. Build a statue for this Slavic God now. They will talk about him like he's Thor. Look at the people we are. No, that if you look at the, I don't like to talk about George Weah because there's only one African Ballon d'Or winner, and as a pro-Africa man, as a pro-black man that I am, I don't want to be the one to point out. But let's say his name was George Weah, and he's from South America. I will not tell you that in his Ballon d'Or season for AC Milan, he signed for AC Milan after, but he played for PSG that the season before and scored 7 league goals as a centre forward. He was not playing wingo as a centre forward, and he scored 18 goals in all conditions. in over 50 games, by the way. No, we say he get injured. He was playing. Just that's all he had. Those are Brown and Buemo numbers. I'm not even joking with you. But a striker won Ballon d'Or because of that. And we keep talking about, thank God Vinicius did not win Ballon d'Or. Vinicius would have been, he probably would be viewed with the same lens or similar lens we view some of these other Brazilian legends if he played before today. That's the simple truth. The level people hold the guys like Rivaldo, guys like Ronaldinho. I'm not saying Ronaldinho was not good. I'm not saying Rivaldo was not good. Far be it from me. Those guys they were phenomenal. But like it's unfair the way we view them and then talk down on players that are doing much more than they did. That's the simple truth. Shevchenko, one of the best strikers ever. One of the very, very best strikers ever. Most league goals he scored in his career was 25 for Dynamo Kiev. At his best years at Milan did not touch 25 league goals. Those are like 25 league goals is a decent season for Salah. And he was playing for some of the best teams in the world. So like that's the thing. But because football was not as accessible, a lot of the times, especially in 2002, a lot of the times that people saw the Lima Ronaldo that year was at the World Cup. You saw him score, how many goals did he score in that tournament? 6. Saw him score 6 goals. You saw him win the World Cup in Brazil. That registers in your mind. You did not watch him the entire season for Inter Milan when he scored 7 Serie A goals. So, like, it's not as accessible as it is today. Today, you literally have every information to break down. That's why somebody can look at Haaland come to England in his first season, score 51 goals and win a treble, and they still say, but he can't do leg over though. Like, what else do you need to do after that? Like, what else do you need? First season, you arrive at a country where everybody says this is the best league in the world. The discourse around Haaland was, he has been doing this thing, that's Germany, that's Austria, cannot do it in England. Came to England, scored the most goals that had ever been scored in the Premier League season, 36. Scored 51 league goals. 51 goals in no competition, I beg your pardon, in 52 games. Won the literal treble. Like, tell me, what else could he have done? He was not Ballon d'Or top 2. I think it was. Did you finish second? You finished second. Okay.
We know who they had to give up.
So that's what we are saying. If Haaland cannot win the Ballon d'Or with 51 goals and a treble for Manchester City that had never won the Champions League before, so it should tell you everything about the way football is judged today. And I think that is unfair for the players of today. I cannot say definitively that they are definitely better players today than in the 90s. I just think it's much closer than people think. People always look at it like, definitely the 90s had better players. I don't think so. They might have when you actually wait, but like you have to actually sit down and count. Some of these players, you don't remember them as good as you thought they were. If you watch Filippo Inzaghi today, stomach will pain you. If Inzaghi play for your team, Bele go turn you. That's not to say it was not good. Again, I don't want to disrespect anybody's childhood hero. These guys have done their bits, they've gone. It's a different type of football, different time. No doubt about that. But from what I see these people do today, give them more respect.
All right. Tosin, over to you. Do you think the 90s were overrated or not?
The 90s were not overrated. I think the 90s, obviously, he made some valid points in terms of like, the players are more accessible, social media, you can get their stats relatively easy. But one thing I need to, because people always talk about this, and I think the first thing we need to first distinguish is that the kind of football that was played in the 90s, early 2000s is different from the kind of football that is being played now. It's the same football, like they play ball, but the methodology is different. The philosophy is different. And that is why he can make a statistical based argument that there is more productivity now from the players. Like, look at someone like Brad Mbeumo that he's talking about. I think he has 15 league goals. You understand? That's what I remember, I think in 2004, 2005. If you look at, let's say, a team like Chelsea then, they had 2 players that were battling on that left wing. Let's say Damien Duff and Ian Robben. And you look at today's era, you look at Noni Madueke and Pedro Neto. And if you want to come and tell me that the chicken brain that is inside Noni Madueke's brain, you can compare it to someone like Ayen Robin because their stats are kind of similar. You are playing fantasy football. If you drop Noni Madueke in that era, he will go and cry to his parents. He will go and cry to his parents. The football that they were playing then did not facilitate the over-glorification of stats. It's like saying, like, let me look for a very good example. It's like saying, like, he was talking about, we had a conversation about Inter Milan, he was waxing lyrically about Barella and Fratesi. It's like saying Barella is comparable to Pello and Makishu and Gattuso. Do you understand that era? You need to first understand the era to understand the kind of quality you need to play in that era. That era, the football now is like saying, let's say someone like Kylian Mbappe, who is people say is the best player in the world now. Kylian Mbappe is the best player in the world. Does he use his football brain? Does he use his brain? Does he use all the elements he has to become a complete footballer? If you take Kylian Mbappe now, is he a better footballer than Thierry Henry at that same age? Do they look? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you take the peak player in that era, you take the peak player in this era. Do you think he's better than him? Do you think he has maximized his potential? He has assessed all. Thierry Henry was a great goal scorer. When he was in his 26, he was a great goal scorer. He was a great facilitator. He was a great leader. He had mental and spatial awareness on the pitch that created fear on the pitch. And if you look at that era, that is why when they rank, anytime maybe 442 ranks or Squawka ranks, the top 10, first 11, second 11, you barely see players in this generation. Now, one is because most of them, their stories are not yet fully written. But two is because even they know, they have, even this, because Squawka has all the stats, 442 have all the stats. Even though they know that this era is statistically more productive than that era, they still know that they cannot compare. They still put the players of the previous era ahead of this era. They still rank, when they say the greatest right back, they still rank Javier Zanetti and Cafu ahead of the modern fullbacks that you say, oh, Trent Alexander-Arnold is a prolific right back. They still rank the likes of Javier Zanetti and Cafu ahead of him. Do you think they don't know that Alexander-Arnold has created 12 assists in the Premier League this season? You think they don't know that stat? They understand that the football that they were playing in that era is different from the football that they are playing in this era. They are playing statistical football in this era. That's what they are playing in this era. And it's not the player's fault. It's because football has been mechanized. Everything has been data-driven. If they say who is the greatest left back of all time, the first five you first mentioned are of the late 90s of Maldini and the early 2000s of Patrice Evra, of Roberto Carlos. That's you first mentioned those five. Before you now start thinking, oh, Andy Robertson, a great defender. Or the modern left backs in this era, before you start calling their names. You first talk about the ones that played in the 90s and the 2000s. One of the reasons why and Messi are kind of anomalies, they are the bridge between the 90s and the 2000s. If you understand, they played with, if you look at, I'm a Barcelona fan, if you look at our 2006 Champions League team, you look at players like Ludovic Gulli, you look at players like, you spill to 2007, you look at players like Zambrotta, you look at players like Thuram, the father of this Thuram. You look at those kind of players, those were majorly 90s players. Messi played with them, but he also played with the current era. They are kind of the bridge. So, to be honest, one of the reasons why Messi are so successful is because this era is watered down. It's a watered down era. It's a watered down era. That's just the simple truth.
Today, Tosin just made a serious allegation that this era of football is watered down, that maybe it is more mechanized, more robotic. What do you have to say to that?
I don't have an issue with Tosin believing that this era of football is watered down. The issue with that silly statement is to say that that's the reason Messi is so successful. As if there is a single era of football where Messi would not be considered a witch. No, what was Maradona doing? Let's put it down. What was Maradona doing? High on drugs half the time. But lots of people viewed him as a deity. But people that watch Maradona at the time, if they see Messi, their heads would explode. Do you understand the advancement in sport? Look, don't disrespect those two guys. Like,
I'm not disrespecting.
Please.
I did not disrespect them.
Please.
I did not disrespect them.
Those two, we have never... If you have watched a footballer that is better than either of those two guys, chances are you are no longer alive or you are on death's door. Put your affairs in order. Any footballer in the last... you see this last 30, 40 years... nobody should think it. None of you are close to Lionel Messi. I don't care about the Brazilian Ronaldo's feelings. I'm sorry. I don't care about Maradona's feelings. I'm sorry. Neither of you are touching these guys. I can't speak for Pelé. I choose to believe that Pelé must have been really special for a black man to wield that much influence in the height of you know how you have to be for when you would be like, you know, we are selling black people, but like you consider the play. Baba, you sabi, you don't play. Play. Do you want a slave? I agree that this era is more mechanical, more robotic. But that is even to my point. In a more mechanical and less fluid era, you should not have this much stats, if you think about it. The era that does not allow for artistic expression for forwards, except for maybe Real Madrid players, because those ones don't have tax, they just do as you like. Just say, do whatever you want to do. But every other big team has the attack coordinated in a way that it really only, probably for teams like, say, City, probably just benefits their striker. And other teams have other people do some benefits the winger. So there's no artistic expression. It's like in the 90s, what the kind of freedom the guys like Ronaldinho had, kind of freedom the guys like Zidane had. Like you cannot, it doesn't exist today because the obsession with football today is to not lose the ball. Every coach wants control 100% of the time. Even if we don't score, keep this ball. That's the objective of football today. If you try to go against the grain, see the way Lampard and them used to just, everything's tight, just shift ball twice, just low down. Like he scored like 40 goals plus from outside the box in this career. But from that start, he also missed like 200 more because he shot a lot from outside the box. But today's coaches will look at that and say, you've wasted the ball 200 times instead of seeing that he has scored 40 plus times from outside the box. And they will say, don't do that again. If you do it 2 or 3 times in the game, you will be dropped. That's how it is today. So like, in a way, it should be easier to have more stats in the era where as a star player you could do whatever you wanted. But somehow, these people still do not. I mean, I know we all love Ronaldinho. A lot of us grew up with Ronaldinho as really our first love in football because it was that guy. It was fun to watch. All that, the air bouncing, everything, the YouTube challenge, crossbar, whatever. All of that is cool if you were a child. But like when you grow up with your adult brain, you should be able to tell yourself the truth and say, yeah, Ronaldo was a fun player, was a good player. Was he a top 10 player of all time? Hell no. Does Ronaldo rank higher than Mbappe all time? Like, I'm not even saying at the end of Mbappe's career. I'm saying Mbappe today in 2025, if Mbappe calls it quits today, that I'm no more playing football again, everything that he has achieved, stack it up against Ronaldo's career. Who ranks higher?
I hear me.
Oh, them are bad. No, let us know what we're doing. Who ranks higher? If you want to look at the objective, you don't remove your feelings of, but like Ronaldo was the first player, remove that. If I presented the stats to you, presented the achievements to you, presented the list of their clutch moments, and just removed names, say between these two careers, which would you rather have? It is clear. 4 goals in 2 World Cup finals, back-to-back World Cup finals. The only 2 World Cups he's played. First player to score a hat-trick in the World Cup final. Like, it is clear. It's not up for debate, in my opinion. But this thing sounds blasphemous because your childhood has conditioned you because you saw one first. That's all it is. That's all it is. It is all because you saw one first before you saw the other one. That is essentially what it is. That's how nostalgia works. Even leave Ronaldo and go to his mentor. So good they named him twice. Great player. So like I'm not obviously I cannot say anything bad about JJ. He's even graced us on this platform before. One of Nigeria's greatest footballers of all time. But if you judge him with the lens that's my entire point here. My point is not whether 90s players are better than today's players or vice versa. My entire point is if you judge 90s players the way you judge players today, you would have far less all-timers. If you judge today's players the way you judge 90s players, you would have a lot more all-timers. And if you don't, you probably have Alzheimer's. Rhymes. So even though I've called out a lot of players today, I've mentioned lots of names, but I'm not singling out or calling out one particular player. I'm calling out the double standards in the way we judge players now. People that used to watch football then because it was so scarce, when you watch, you just want to appreciate. You are not nitpicking. You are not taking on one particular player to run agendas. There are people today that now their entire job is to run agendas on players. It's not about whether the player is even good or not. It's just this player, what did he fail to do today so that I can drag this narrative home. That's what football has become. That's what football discourse has become. And that's what I'm calling out. Judge players fairly. Let us focus on what players can do. Let us appreciate players for what they can do. Ronaldo is probably one of the greatest goal scorers in the history of the game. I honestly, if you can't, let me know. If you can mention 10 players that have ever played football that know how to put the ball in the back of the net more than Ronaldo, let me know today. Open the comments and say something meaningful for once instead of all those rubbish people always say. Open the comments and let us list 10 better goal scorers than Ronaldo. List 10 players that have had a better career than Kylian Mbappe. So essentially my point is there are lots of good players in this era. There are lots of good players in the 90s. Every era of football is different. There will be leaders in each era. Just appreciate all of them. That's what I'm saying. Appreciate. Let us put the agendas aside and recognize who is good for what they do, not what they cannot do. Talk about Obama. Yeah, he's scoring, but he's mostly scoring for penalty. He cannot run. Like he cannot beat one. Like those are the things. Those are the kind of discourse we're having today. Because it's about agenda. It's about how can I make this player look bad. Meanwhile, the entire agenda for the previous era was how can we embellish this player to make him look good. If Zidane played today, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it.
So, Tosin, when you mentioned something, you exploded one time like this. It's your turn to fire back at him.
Let me start by saying that the respect that this era gets, this era of football will not have a great throwback. And the reason why is we now have athletes that are dominating the game of football rather than people who actually get on the pitch and actually utilize their football brain. How many meters can you cover? What kind of defensive stance do you have? Just basic, like it's basically integrating principles from other sports, from basketball, from volleyball, bringing those data and integrating it into football. Your heart rate, your stamina, your endurance, your sprinting technique, bringing all those. And I don't want to belittle this era. I don't want to belittle, like it was like that conversation we had, and the first conversation, and I was telling you that like, is Kylian Mbappe better than Thierry Henry? The answer is no. We both know that is no. But they will still do agidi. They will still do agidi. If you look at the previous era, that did not have access to the amount of facilities, data, and exposure that this era had, and you look at the quality of football, what if I tell you that in this era, people actually, they did a document, they did a data research and found out that like, in this era, players are actually getting sent off more and receive yellow cards at a higher rate than the previous era. And if I ask him, which era is more physical? Is it this era or is it the previous era? If he's being honest with himself, he will tell you it's the previous era. Some of the flying tackles we used to see in the previous era, out of desperation out of, obviously, not understanding like positional sense, and obviously due to the rigidity of the defense also in that era. Some of these players, if they play due to those rules, some of them will have career-long injuries. These players are heavily protected in this era. They have access to the best medical care, best data research, best everything. And when it comes to, they're the ones that complain the most. How many weeks? The squads are even larger now. Do you know? Before, major Premier League teams were about 18 to 19 players in terms of rotation. Now we have 27. Every week, Pep Guardiola is complaining. Every week, Arteta is complaining. Every week, people are picking up injuries with minimal contact, soft tissue injuries, because the game is robotic. And for me, personally, I do not hold the previous era in high esteem based on the fact that I was younger. I hold it in high esteem because of the purity of football that was displayed. That's just the simple truth. The joy in which they played football, the flair and the understanding of the game. No disrespect to this, and that's why you said there are 10 players, at least 10 players that are better than putting the ball into. We can list to 15 if you want. The basic principle is players of this era are not as talented as players of the previous era. Case in point, if you think that who are the leading vibes in this era, Bruno Fernandes, he can't lace the boot of Kaka. That's a fact. He can't lace the boot of Kaka. Who is the deep line playmaker in this era that people are talking about? Jorginho, Thomas Partey. Can he do what Pirlo could do? Can he? Does he have the football acumen or the football intelligence? It's a lie. As good as this era is, I love Pedri to death. He can't lace the boots of Iniesta. It's a fact. He can't. And if we continue in this dimension, people will continue. They feel the solution is we need to increase the World Cup from 32 to 48 to 48 to 60. We need to increase the Champions League. We need to create a new Club World Cup. No. You need to regulate the game and make the game, allow people that know how to play football. Don't go and bring people that can run and have stamina, play football, and have big body. Let people who actually think the game play football. If you deviate from that, nobody will be watching football in the next 10 years. That's just my own submission.
All right. Are the 90s overrated? Well, Tosin has gone in support of that. Why Tunde thinks that you should never want to meet your heroes because, in his words, Bele go turn you. What about you guys? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I am Anushilowo, Jimmy Anushilowo, and this is Crossfire, brought to you by Life's Corvette.